Hello, everybody. My name is Alex McKay, and welcome to the economics of WestJet. My group partners are Diego, Jasmine, May, and Marceline. Over the next few slides, we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the microeconomics textbook. Hope you enjoy. So now I have the introduction, just a few facts about WestJet. WestJet was founded in 1996, starting as a low carrier in Western Canada. The WestJet headquarters is located in Calgary, for those of you that don't know. As of 2019, WestJet provides flights to 109 destinations across 24 countries. WestJet is the second largest Canadian airline with 34% of the Canadian domestic market, and WestJet's European service started in 2018. In today's agenda, we're going to be discussing introduction, the economic problem, demand and supply, elasticity, a firm's production decision, and the cost in the short run, cost in the long run, perfect competition, monopoly, imperfect competition, recommendation, and conclusion. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the economic problem. In the next few slides, we're going to go over efficiency and allocation. Factors of production. I'd just like to direct your attention to the enterprise diagram. Over the past few years, WestJet has done a really good job increasing their revenue. So from 2014 to 2018, it's steadily climbed. And then in the labor aspect, just a range of different salaries for workers. There's a low range baggage handler, $39,590. And then the director of finances can get somewhere around the $140,000 per year mark. So we have opportunity cost and efficiency. So one thing I think of when I think of WestJet and planes in general is scarcity. In WestJet's case, there are limited seats on each plane. So this forces the company to either add more seats to every plane, which will impede on customer satisfaction, or they will increase the amount of flights in and out of wherever they're flying from. More seats on the plane causes less comfort, like I said, with the customers, and more flights uses more fuel. With efficiency, WestJet allocates their resources by first come and first served method. Production possibilities. We have two pictures here, business class seating and economy class seating. Now, one of these planes has a lot more seats, one of them doesn't, right? So economy class seating, if you look closely, there's a lot of seats on there for a cheaper price. And then in the business class seating, there is a lot less seats, obviously for a higher price. That's just one sort of example of the production possibility curve. You can have more business class seats, less economy style seating, or vice versa, and that's something that WestJet offers.
So let's talk about demand elasticities. These will measure the change in the quantity demanded of a particular good or service as a result of changes to other economic variables, such their own prices, the income levels, the price of competing or complementary goods, taxes, and so on. There are three main types of demand elasticity. The first one is called price elasticity of demand. And this one will measure the sensitivity of consumer demand for a good or service in response to changes in the price of that particular good or service. The second type is called cross-price elasticity of demand. This one will measure the sensitivity of demand to changes in the price of another good that has relation with the primary good. The third type is called income elasticity of demand. And this basically will measure the sensitivity of demand of a good to changes in individual or aggregate income levels. For this last one, you have to keep just one idea in mind. When you have higher incomes, you buy less inferior goods and you start to substitute them buy better quality goods. So that's the point to understand income elasticity of demand. Demand elasticities can be influenced by several factors. The individual characteristic of a good or service will have impact, but there are also a number of factors that will typically affect the sensitivity of demand. The first factor is the availability of substitutes. The elasticity is typically higher the greater the number of available substitutes, as consumer can easily switch between different products and options. The second factor is the degree of necessity. Luxury or highly valued products typically have a higher elasticity. Some products that are initially a luxury are habit forming and can become necessities to some consumers. Bread, for example, has a low elasticity as it is considered a necessity, and tobacco is a good example of a habit forming. The third faction is the proportion of the budget consumed by the item. Products that consume a large portion of consumers' budget tend to have a great elasticity. The fourth factor is the time period considered. Elasticity tend to be greater over the long run because consumers have more time to adjust their behavior and they have more time to find out more substitutes for that price, that product.
Let's look at the short-run and long-run cost of WestJet Airlines. Short-run cost is when at least one input in the production process is fixed. Before we discuss further, let's look at this figure first. The figure shows the revenue of WestJet for both 3 months and 9 months, but we'll just focus on the 9 months only. The operating expenses here include both fixed and variable costs, which will be discussed further in the next slide. WestJet Airlines has a high fixed cost that we can see on this figure here on this slide. The fixed cost may include depreciation and amortization as well as maintenance expense. However, we can see that there is a slight increase from 2018 to 2019. It's mainly because of the increase of the age of the equipments or asset they occupy, which also affected the maintenance cost. When the equipment or the asset that they have aged over time, so the depreciation and amortization will also increase. And the amount of the depreciation may depend on the depreciation method that they use. Now, let's look at the long run cost of WestJet Airlines. So long run cost occurs when all inputs are variables. So basically in the long run cost, it just focuses on variable factors. Therefore, all costs are also variables because the amount of cost that the company spend always fluctuates depending on the level of the output. It may also achieve economies of scales. When WestJet first announced its ultra low-cost carriers called Swoop Airlines in 2018, I think that will be when WestJet achieved its economies of scale because it offers a lower fare compared to other competitors.
Now, let's move on to Chapter 8 and Chapter 10, Perfect Competition and Monopoly. First, I'm going to give a brief explanation about these two market structures, and then I'll be explaining the reasons why perfect competition and monopoly wouldn't apply to WestJet Airlines. There are four types of market structures: perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. Our team has agreed that WestJet's market structure is oligopoly, which will be explained by my colleague. Perfect competition is a market where buyers and sellers are price takers. Both of them don't have significant influence in the markets. The sellers offer homogeneous products. Perfect competition has four characteristics. First, in this market, they should have a large number of buyers and sellers where every seller is usually a small company. Second, buyers usually have no preference in terms of the brand and products they are buying. The third characteristic is that perfect competition is easy to enter and easy to exit. The last one is all participants usually have the knowledge of producing or purchasing products. For example, commodities and vegetable. People usually don't care about the brand of these products. Producers have already known the information how to produce the products, and buyers are also knowledgeable enough about the products. The second market structure is monopoly. Monopoly is a market where there is only a single firm who dominates the market. Monopolistic market exists due to three barriers. First, technical barriers that make other companies difficult to copy. Next is legal barriers where government regulation may prevent other companies to enter the market. Lastly, economic barriers, which is related to huge initial investment to start off. One of the examples is Crown Corporation in Canada, such as Canada Post. Why perfect competition and monopoly do not apply to WestJet? First, WestJet is the second largest Canadian airlines who dominates domestic flights. The situation doesn't apply to perfect competition because it has large number of firms who produces similar products. Also, airline company has high startup costs and fixed costs, which make it difficult to enter and exit the market. The situation is the opposite of perfect competition. WestJet also doesn't fit to monopoly because WestJet is not the only airline which operate in Canada. Therefore, the characteristics of perfect competition and monopoly do not fit to WestJet Airlines.
So I will be talking about imperfect competition as opposed to perfect competition, which Jasmine mentioned earlier, where there are many buyers as well as sellers, and the products have minimal to no difference in features between different sellers. Imperfect competition is a market structure in which products are identifiable and companies have some control over price. There are two forms of imperfect competition, which are monopolistic competition and oligopoly. Monopolistic competition is a market which contains many small firms with little difference in products. So, markets such as hair salons, real estate agencies, travel agencies, sporting and athletic goods, etc. And oligopoly, the word itself means few sellers. So, oligopoly market has few large firms that dominate the market selling a standardized product. Um, for so such as petroleum, tobacco, oil, beer, automobiles, etc. Alright, as you guys can see on the slide, here is the difference between monopolistic competition and oligopoly. So monopolistic competition has many small firms acting independently, freedom of entry. Each firm has some control over price, and products are differentiated. While oligopoly is a market which is dominated by only a large few firms, and it is really difficult for new firms to enter the market. Each firm also has control over price, but a significant control, and mutual interdependence exists between firms. And based on the characteristics mentioned above, it is safe to say that WestJet, or the Canadian airline industry in general, is of the oligopoly market. Since, first of all, how many times have you tried booking a flight? And WestJet and Air Canada are the top options or highly recommended. That's because Air Canada and WestJet largely dominates the Canadian aviation market, with 35% of Canada's scheduled flights coming from WestJet. Moreover, with such domination of these two firms, as well as Canada's market being so small, it is difficult to enter the market. The two airlines offer similar service and charge similar prices in an attempt to maximize profits. WestJet needs to improve their refund policy. A lot of customers have complained about how their customer service did not satisfy them, especially during this time of the year and with a pandemic currently going on. Some customers said their flights were canceled without a refund, or they did not receive updates on their scheduled flights when it got canceled. Problems like so can make the customers turning to WestJet's rival, which is Air Canada. WestJet can have solutions for this. They can have policies for refund, as well as communicating with the customers when a problem comes up, to create customer relationships and earning their trust, as well as credibility. WestJet's weakest point was said to be in-flight entertainment. Comparing to Air Canada, WestJet's 787 service to Europe is the only place you'll find complimentary in-flight meals in economy class. That's something WestJet needs to work on. I mean, who doesn't love a good snack along with entertainment on a long flight? Here are some main points from our presentation. WestJet has perfect comparisons to models such as production possibilities curve and scarcity. The company works on a first-come, first-served basis that keep customers happy and prices low. Supply and demand in air tickets too often tend to be disequilibrium. Demand can be affected with changes in the economy, consumer confidence, health concerns such as COVID-19. Demand is highly cyclical depending on the situation and time of the year. Moreover, WestJet has both short-run and long-run costs that include fixed and variable costs. Even though variable cost may have high volatility, it is usually lower than fixed cost because variable costs fluctuate according to the level of output of the company. Perfect competition and monopoly cannot apply to WestJet because the characteristics of those two market structures do not fit to WestJet business operation. Oligopoly of imperfect competition, on the other hand, fits the aviation industry and WestJet in particular perfectly. That is the end for our presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We are open for questions and discussions, so if you have any, please let us know. Thank you guys for listening.